Good morning, all of you. Welcome back to the channel. So let us start with today's analysis video for 10th of May 2023. So in Pakistan, we know that Imran Khan has been now arrested and simultaneously protests, they also erupt. So his protesters, they are violently protesting. So former Prime Minister was arrested when he appeared in a court to seek bail in multiple corruption cases and he was taken to Rawalpindi. So his wife and other PTI leaders, they're also facing inquiry too. So, like, going to the details is not so important from us, like for us. Then curbs eased in the riot hit Manipur. Basically, in बोल सकते कि situation it is easing down, and Manipur showed signs of limping back to normalcy. We see authorities in 4 districts of Manipur, they've relaxed the curfew for a few hours. Even as a security personnel, they continued strict vigil in the sensitive areas. So army still present there. And apart from that, we see that, like internet services, they would still remain suspended till 13th of May. So in this picture, you can see it's a picture from the Lahaul Spiti, and you can see unseasonal snowfall also as we talk about unseasonal rain. So it's a picture from Lahaul Spiti, Himachal Pradesh. Over 500 vehicles, they got stranded between Atal Tunnel, Rohtang and Dhundi in the Himachal Pradesh. So here we see कि Delhi के जो LGI seeks report on the Kejriwal house renovation, and NGT has also formed a panel regarding this thing. So they formed a committee to ascertain key factual position kya hai on the alleged violation of the environmental norms during the construction. So NGT would be going into this thing. So here it is all about the Karnataka elections. So coming to the editorial page, so salvaging the idea and the reality of Manipur. So इस पे हम proper like discussion कर चुके हैं, that to a number of times. So it's a repeat, and here it is talking about कि how did the protest, all of that started, and उसके बाद मतलब basically how things they went out of control. So there is need for recognition and accommodation. That is one of the solution as far as when we talk about peace between the tribal and the non-tribals in Manipur. So आने वाले time में future में obviously state building is important. So the weak state society model that obtains in the state suggests that an ethnic security dilemma is there. That's this term, it is from the Barry Posson sense, will persist in the absence of the capacity of the state to guarantee overarching security, specifically to the tribals. So two keywords, weak state society model and ethnic security dilemma, exist in the state of Manipur. So institutional trust and legitimacy, it will be critical in holding together deeply divided societies such as Manipur as a result. So institutional trust, people need to have that, and legitimacy, they are two important factors. So state, it must adopt even-handedness in its dealing with the diverse communities which reside in the state, and they must not cave into the pressure of the majority in the future. So such an accommodationist framework, if it is like if it were to work and obtain the trust and the legitimacy from the government, but It must be alive to the distinctive and the historical pedigree of the extent that sub-state constitutional asymmetry and increasing sense of insecurity of the Metis under the weight of the demographic pressure is what we're seeing. So project of reviving and sustaining the idea and the geopolitical body of the Manipur, it can be realistic. जब सिर्फ dissensual communities they engage in reasoned dialogue is there between the communities, and there is conversation by mutually respecting each other as equals in a spirit of give and take. So यहाँ पे बहुत सारे keywords हैं, you can note them down. So landlocked nature of the state and the fact that it had an admixture of populations across the state, which is drawn from populations within and across various states. So it implies that any prolonged conflagrations will be mutually destructive also, and it would be self-defeating in nature. So Manipur, it is a landlocked state. Uske alawa, yesterday I also raised this point that you need to know about the geography of this like entire Northeast, and like you can find out about different hills, different national parks, tiger reserves if it exists, Ramsar sites, and which all states they share border with Myanmar. So that's important. You need to know the proper organization, like where each state is placed. So that's important. And then Schedule 5 and Schedule 6, that also becomes important. So like which all tribal communities are found in northeastern region, and then specifically in the state of Manipur, that becomes important. So the right to health goal and role for Taiwan. So here, as the world it enters the fourth year of COVID-19 pandemic, the situation is gradually improving. Most border restrictions, Tijo, they have been lifted, and global health governance, it is now focused on post-pandemic recovery. So countries, they have stepped up the efforts to achieve health and well-being for all and further the realization of United Nations SDG goals whose progress was impacted. Obviously, that was impacted because of the pandemic. So Taiwan, it fully supports the health-related SDGs and the World Health Organization's triple billion targets. So this can come up in prelims also. एक तो आपको पता भी होना चाहिए कि what do we mean by this triple billion target, and it is related to WHO. So Taiwan, it is also committed to building a more resilient and equitable health service supply chain, maintaining there is inclusive, equitable, universal health coverage system also. They are also aiming at providing disease prevention and management through a robust primary healthcare system. So that's there. And Taiwan का क्या pandemic response रहा? It's only specific to Taiwan. So because it is the author of this article is the Minister of Health and Welfare, Republic of China, that's Taiwan. So they're going to focus on disease prevention. Apart from that, place for Taiwan. So Taiwan has not been invited to the World Health Assembly since 2017. Now that COVID-19 pandemic, that is also abating, and dialogue on strengthening the health systems worldwide, it is accelerating. Taiwan, it should not be left out. So this is their one of the concerns. And Taiwan's inclusion would make the world healthier, more sustainable, and more equitable. So yesterday we talked about Syria's homecoming. So Syria, it has again become a member of the Arab League. So the Arab world must help rebuild Syria while keeping up the pressure on Assad. So yesterday we like discussed this thing in detail. So you can just go through this article once again. So on this page, we are talking about how can we minimize the threat from the IEDs. So this is related to left-wing extremism, and there was recent this attack. You can see this picture, such a big crater, it has been formed by this attack, and we even lost our security personnel. So why are like the improvised explosive devices, the IEDs, they are the potent tools in the hands of militants? Why are like they so easily available, and why are they misused? So what can be done beyond standard operating procedure? So इससे ज़्यादा या इससे हम और एक step आगे कैसे जा सकते हैं? So as to tackle the terrorists in Kashmir and also Maoist regions in central India. So on 5th of May, 5 soldiers, they were killed. Another, they was injured in this gunfight with militants in the Rajouri Punch sector of the Jammu division. So according to the army, gunfight broke out after an explosive device. It was triggered when a search team established contact with a group of terrorists hiding in a cave in the Kandi forest, killing 2 soldiers. And then 26th of April, we had this incident of IED blast, which killed 10 security personnel in the district of Reserve Guard in Chhattisgarh's Dantewada area. So Jawans, they were out on anti-Maoist mission when they were ambushed. So Jammu and Kashmir mein terrorist problems hai, and then Central India mein we are having this problem of left-wing extremism. So were any tactical mistakes made during these incidents or not? So quite essential dilemma for security forces ye hai ki they are dealing with an enemy that is faceless, that is unidentifiable, and it is hidden among the people. So identify karna, and then they're like it's faceless, aap nahi bata sakte who are a part of it or not. So that's a very big challenge. So they're like whether to upholding the law of land and protecting its people, security personnel, they can open fire only in self-defense, not on apprehension. So militants, whether आप बात करें लश्कर तैयबा जो कश्मीर में है और Maoist in central India, they have the first mover advantage on triggering a landmine or like an IED on a mobile army vehicle or opening burst fire with an AK-47 on static CRPF sentry post. सो यहाँ पे ऐसे इंसिडेंट्स में ना इमीडिएट जो रिएक्शन टाइम होता है दैट इज ऑफ फ्यू सेकेंड्स ओनली. सो उसको हम बोलते हैं इमीडिएट एक्शन और काउंटर एम्बुश ड्रिल. सो दैट्स लिमिटेड टू फ्यू सेकेंड्स. सो उस सिचुएशन में आप क्या ही कर लोगे. एंड दैट टू अगर लाइक फ्यू द सिक्योरिटी पर्सनल्स दे आर लकी इनफ टू सर्वाइव द इनिशियल आईडी एम्बुश, सो उसके बाद ही तो आप रिएक्ट करोगे. सो जो भी सारे स्टैंडर्ड ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम्स हैं, प्रोसीजर्स हैं, टेक्नोलॉजिकल मेजर्स हैं, दे आर डायरेक्टेड टुवर्ड्स कि यू आर एबल टू आइडेंटिफाई एंड देन ऑल्सो डिटेक्ट द आईडी या लैंडमाइंस एंड टू अवॉइड बीइंग कॉट इन देम. सो मेन फोकस उसी चीज पे किया जाता है कि बिफोर इट गेट्स ब्लास्टेड आप आइडेंटिफाई कर सको एंड डिटेक्ट कर सको. So how can the errors they can be minimized? So first thing that must be kept in mind is to avoid travel by the vehicle. So safest mode of travel, it is on foot in a region जहाँ पे left wing extremism it is active. So वहाँ पे vehicle से travel करना is very risky. So studies they show कि 60% जो casualty या fatalities हुई mass terrorist areas में, they're because of vehicles they were ambushed in the landmines or ID. So ये बहुत common incidences हैं जो देखे गए हैं in the left-wing extremism affected states and the areas. So routine operations like आप area domination की बात करो, cordon and search की बात करो, long range patrolling, ambush cum patrolling and so forth, they should only be undertaken on foot and vehicle prefer नहीं करना चाहिए. Then will moving around in camouflage, will that also help? So that is also one of the tactics. So that's like stealth, you hide yourself, and camouflaging and then concealment, they are integral to anti-terrorist operations. So olive green vehicles hote hain army ke and light green vehicles of CRPF, they're easily identified from a distance and giving adequate time and opportunity to the terrorists to organize an IED ambush. So if vehicle travel it is absolutely essential, so security forces they are expected to take civilian or state road transport corporation buses and not जो उनके proper like vehicles होते हैं. So to avoid easy identification, they must travel with civilians and mufti with weapons carefully concealed. So उनको भी like अगर जो आपका target है that is spaceless, so even the army personnel they need to be like dressed in that way, and जो army vehicles हैं वो आपको prefer नहीं करने चाहिए so that you remain safe. So again यहाँ पे vehicles की बात की गई है, will not take this up. So how can you can make this region more safe for traveling? So rigorous and your regular implementation of various detection methods like metal detectors होते हैं, ground penetrating radars हैं, trained sniffer dogs हैं to locate and clear the landmines and IDs, that is essential. So technological equipments हमारे पास है when it comes when it comes to identification. So road opening parties, they play an important role in detection of the ambushes also. So aerial surveillance that can be also carried out. We have the drone technology now, and we can also use the unmanned ground vehicles. They can like not only detect the presence of terrorists, but they can also carry out operations and also pick up telltale signs of a likely ambush, like the piles of rocks, yeah, mud bags. So air technology can play an important role. So intelligence input कैसे use किए जा सकते हैं? So like it's important to gather actionable intelligence due to enormous risks of the reprisals by the terrorists. Locals usually they do not divulge information for money alone. So winning of hearts and minds, it is neither easy nor it is quick. Definitely that's very true. So relationships, they need to be cultivated. Goodwill आपको generate करनी important हो जाती है among the local population जो उस area में reside करती है on long term basis, and it needs to be above the transactional level. So obviously that is above money, and this requires patience. Obviously ये कोई short time period में चीजें नहीं हो सकती है. So it requires patience. It requires your commitment, empathy, and integrity on the part of the security forces, which is sometimes lacking in them also. So even this is one of the challenges. So what can we learn from this explosion? So there is like simply no substitute for good old routine investigation of crimes, like including that of the ID ambushes. So an ID ambush, it is not an insular या standalone even नहीं होता है. There is whole ecosystem जो उसके पीछे work कर रहा है, which comprises of financiers, suppliers होते हैं, transporters होते हैं, builders होते हैं, triggermen होते हैं. So पूरा एक ecosystem है, एक chain है, and that's how that exists. So you need to target each level. So it's pertinent to mention here that just in 1 year alone in Afghanistan, we talk about it. So US forensic investigation teams, they picked up a mind-boggling 5,000 fingerprints from the remnants of the IDs and the explosives, and recovered from the scenes of the bomb blast. So 5,000 fingerprints, they were recorded by the US forensic team. So this enabled identification also, detection of hundreds of suspects also, and compliances which were involved in the ID ambushes. And diligent and scientific investigation, then you can go for this thing. And then establishment of the linkages through meticulous collection and marshalling of evidence, and then framing of the charge sheets followed by speedy trials and conviction. They serve as a strong deterrent to terrorism. So we can learn from this, and again यहाँ पे commitment बहुत important role play करती है. So बाकी और हम क्या measures ले सकते हैं that needs to be undertaken. So several measures government level की बात करें, both center and state level पे. So it includes collaboration with international organizations. NGOs can help other countries. They can like share information, resources, and best practices for the landmine and the ID prevention, उनके detection के लिए and clearance के लिए. So here, like foreign countries collaboration that plays an important role, like be it like technology या क्या proper उनका standard operating procedure है regarding this thing. And here we also talked about how US forensics, they just in 1 year collected so much of data and then you acted upon that. So next, it can be like implementation, enforcement of the national and international law hai, policies and regulations hai, which are aimed at preventing the use, production, and trade of landmines and the IEDs. Second, we can talk about the legislative measures जो हम ले सकते हैं. They are required for mandatory addition of odoriferous chemicals and biosensors to explosives which are used in even industries and mining. so that they can be easily detected during transport. Then we can also have legislation, a law for stricter controls on the manufacturing, supply, and sales of explosives and detonators. And here the examples also mentioned, NATO is mentioned, Counter IED Center of Excellence Banaget is based in Madrid, which is in Spain. So it's a small unit which exists in India under the National Security Guard as well. But given key IEDs, they have been causing major setbacks to the fighting militants in India. It is high time that an overarching agency, which is created under the Ministry of Home Affairs to coordinate the efforts of both Government of India also and the state governments, that is created and to provide legislative, technological, and procedural support to the law enforcement agencies. So that is the need of the hour. So Arab trains, they are going to carry Indian goods to Israeli port. So UAE became the first Arab Gulf state to sign an agreement for normalization with Israel in 2020. So Arab trains networks, in future it would be carrying the Indian goods to the Israeli port of Haifa. And with this, you need to know कि और जो बाकी important ports हैं in the region and उनकी location, in which country they are located, and like कौन से ocean में है, if you know that water body. So even that would be helpful. So you need to find out about that. And here, this is the update. He have a port which is in Israel. So here, Indian goods, they would be supplied by Arab train networks. So again, center here, it is telling the Supreme Court, it is informing the Supreme Court that same-sex couples, live-in partners, they are not included in the surrogacy laws. So they're like demanding the legalization of the same-sex marriages. So now यहाँ से और बहुत सारे like different areas they get open up. So center in the Supreme Court has said कि जो same-sex couples हैं and live-in partners, they are not included in the surrogacy and assisted reproduction laws to avoid the misuse and provide children a complete family. So it said, though the Supreme Court, it has decriminalized the same-sex relations and live-in relations, neither any special provisions introduced किए गए with respect to the same-sex or live-in partners, nor have they been granted any additional rights. So just decriminalize किया गया है homosexuality को, और कोई ऐसा like change नहीं किया गया है regarding ensuring them more rights and dignified living. इसके अलावा कोई और additional rights देने की बात नहीं की गई है. So government का कहना ये है कि if they are included and they are made a part of the Surrogacy Act, it would lead to misuse. So it would be difficult to ensure कि better future for the child born through surrogacy. So government का ये point of view है regarding this thing. So petition was filed. So regarding that, the center responded and they have been informed to the Supreme Court. So Act की बात करें तो we have Surrogacy Act 2021 and Assisted Reproductive Technology Act of 2021. So these are the two acts, and you can like just find out about their features, their characteristics also. So Supreme Court bench, it is saying कि जो traditions हैं, they have not stopped the concept of marriage from evolving. So जो भी हमारे traditions हैं, ठीक है, we are following them and they are an important part. But उनकी वजह से we can't say कि जो concept of marriage है, that cannot evolve. that can evolve with time, with changing needs and how things change. And we can also ensure at the same time that we are practicing the traditions also. So this is the Supreme Court bench is saying this thing. And Supreme Court said कि Constitution has itself been a tradition breaker, and though tradition may have created idea of the heterosexual marriage, but it has not been able to stop the society from evolving and bringing changes to the very concept of marriage. So traditions ka aap, you can't argue this thing कि traditions they have stopped, yeah, because we are having this tradition. So marriages का जो concept है that cannot evolve. So Supreme Court ने बोला है कि even Constitution itself, it has been a tradition breaker. So that is one of the examples. And Constitution, it has broken the once hallowed traditions of caste and religious discrimination. So ये भी एक तरीके से tradition था जब हम बात करते हैं caste discrimination, religious based discrimination, and Constitution, it has broken this tradition. So court, it is hearing petitions which are seeking a judicial declaration of the right to same-sex marriage. So to the extent of the traditions which are created, the institution of marriage, they are there. So जिन traditions की वजह से institution of marriage create किया गया, they are there, they exist there, we are following them, but we have to also be alive to the fact कि concept of marriage, it has evolved. It is important at the same time कि दोनों चीजों को आप acknowledge करें. So observations, they came in this response to a submission which was made by a senior advocate. All right, so does the right to life under Article 21 have this concomitant of the right to marry? So you say ki there is a right to marry under the Constitution, but that right is confined only to heterosexual. So does it make sense or not? No, it does not. कि आप ये बोलो कि Article 21 में yes, you have the right to marry, and even the Constitution, it is talking about it. It's a fundamental right, but फिर आप बोलो at the same time कि this right, it is only restricted to the heterosexual couples or people. So that is, we can say कि narrow interpretation होगा. So the court said कि Constitution did not grant people any rights. Constitution कोई people like लोगों को right grant नहीं करता है. Fundamental rights चाहे आप बात करो life की, liberty की, dignity की, freedom of expression and choice, personal autonomy, they were inherent in every person. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन नहीं आपको गारंटी कर रहा है ये बेसिक फंडामेंटल राइट्स, ये ऑलरेडी इनहेरेंट है इन एवरी पर्सन. सो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने सिर्फ इनको रिकग्नाइज किया है. सो इट्स अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इंटरप्रिटेशन जो मैं यहाँ एक्सप्लेन कर रही हूँ. आई होप यू आर गेटिंग द पॉइंट. सो दीज आर जो फंडामेंटल राइट्स हैं यहाँ पे जो अभी मेंशन किए गए हैं, जो मैंने अभी बोला, दे आर inherent in every person. They are a part of their life. ये उनकी right है already by birth. बोल सकते हैं हम ये चीज. So constitution नहीं grant कर रहा है, constitution इनको सिर्फ recognize कर रहा है. So this is what Supreme Court is saying. Okay, so to say this कि there is no fundamental right to marry would be far-fetched. So that is also one thing. So again, यहाँ पे NEET aspirants, they are seeing कि there is no end to humiliations of frisking. Again, this is there, and there were instances of like students, they were asked to change their clothes before the examination hall they like came out. So National Testing Agency, it is conducting this test, so it remains tight-lipped. कोई इनकी तरफ से response कुछ comment नहीं आया है. But obviously this is a very important thing and we can't avoid or ignore it. So now third cheetah also dies in the Kuno National Park, and number of adults they are down to 17. So 3 of them have already died. So यहाँ पे बहुत सारे questions raise होते हैं कि क्या choice of habitat जो हमने choose किया national park, was that right? या यहाँ पे ये समझना भी इम्पोर्टेंट है कि वाई आर दे डाइंग, रीजन को समझना इज मच मोर इम्पोर्टेंट. सो द डेथ इट कम्स a day after a panel recommended कि 5 more cheetahs be released from the acclimatization camp में उनको रखा गया था so that they become much more acquainted with the environment. So third cheetah, it's a female called Daksh, died at the Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh after it was injured during mating. So it brings the total number of adult cheetahs in the park to 17. So 8 cheetahs, they were brought from Namibia and 12 from South Africa. They have been translocated from Africa to restore cheetahs in the Indian wilderness, and one of the animals has produced a litter of 4 cubs also. So it was because of an injury that the third cheetah also dies. So you need to find out more about National Tiger Conservation Authority. So Project Tiger, it also completes 50 years. So जो भी relevant चीजें हैं related to tiger conservation in India, तो सारी पता होनी चाहिए. So Tagore's birth anniversary celebration was overshadowed by the protests at Shantiniketan. So in the Rabindranath Tagore founded Vishwa Bharati, protest overshadowed the celebrations on the poet's birth anniversary as large number of people, they continued their sit-in against the university's move to take away a piece of land from the Shantiniketan house of Nobel laureate Amartya Sen. So university had initially planned that there would be number of events for the poet's birthday, but closer to the date, it not only pruned the number of events, but also announced closure of Rabindra Bhavan for the day due to unavoidable circumstances. So हमारे लिए यहाँ पे important ये हो जाता है what were the contributions of Rabindranath Tagore during the freedom struggle. So all of that becomes important. You can find out about that. Coming to the world page, so here we know that even situation in Myanmar that is not stable. So Myanmar military used to vacuum bomb in a village airstrike. So vacuum bomb kya hote hain, ye you can find out a little bit about it. And iske alawa WHO says कि Israel it is raising obstacles to Palestinian healthcare. So Israel-Palestine conflict continues, and Israel it is posing obstacles to Palestinians in the occupied West Bank and the blockaded Gaza Strip seeking medical care. So Gaza Strip कहाँ located है, कौन सी side है, ईस्टर्न साइड है, वेस्टर्न साइड ऑफ इसराइल पे है, वेस्ट बैंक कहाँ है, उसके अलावा जो important water bodies हैं like Sea of Galilee आपको पता होना चाहिए कि किसके कंट्रोल में है, कौन सा वॉर हुआ था, पहले कहाँ लोकेटेड थी या कौन सी कंट्री के ज्यूरिसडिक्शन में या कंट्रोल में थी, दैट इज इम्पोर्टेंट. So China, Pakistan, they agreed to extend the CPEC to Afghanistan also. So China, Pakistan, Afghanistan, all of three, they have agreed to forge a closer economic ties by extending Beijing's backed China-Pakistan economic corridor to Afghanistan to fully harness the country's potential as a hub for the regional connectivity. So it's a part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, and इसके अलावा फॉरेन पॉलिसी से रिलेटेड या इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस की आप बात करो GS2 में हमने बात करी सबसे पहले कि चाइना की वेस्टर्न एशिया के लिए या सेंट्रल एशिया के लिए क्या पॉलिसी है, क्या उसके इंटरेस्ट हैं, इंडिया के क्या कंसर्न्स है. सेकंड हमने कल बात करी थी अबाउट इंडियाज चाइना पॉलिसी, सो इवन दैट इज इम्पोर्टेंट. एंड देन इंडिया की वेस्ट एशिया से रिलेटेड क्या पॉलिसी है वो भी इम्पोर्टेंट हो जाता है. So here again, Sri Lanka Supreme Court, it clears the path to legalize homosexuality. So different countries get different trajectory, different story rahi hai regarding it. Coming to the business page, so here we see so IBM and the NASA model is going to gauge the climate change. So IBM in collaboration with NASA, they have unveiled a new geospatial foundation model, which is designed to convert satellite data into high resolution maps of floods, fires, and other landscape changes to reveal the planet का past क्या रहा है and hint at its future क्या हो सकता है. So taking up Mint newspaper, so banks knock RBI door with plan to curb online frauds. So banks, they have suggested negative registry of the fraudsters' accounts and allow all banks to have the access of it also. So threshold for transactions in new accounts, central negative registry of accounts of the known fraudsters. So जो negative registry है उसमें सारा data होगा of the known fraudsters and standard operating procedure रहेगा to stop the downstream flow of the funds once a fraud मतलब report किया जाता है तो आगे funds का transfer नहीं possible होगा. So these are some of the measures जो Indian banks ने suggest किए हैं to stop the online frauds which are on the rise and according to the data of RBI. So that's one thing. And apart from this, there is one term here which we need to know कि what is cryonics. मतलब ऐसी terms आती हैं पीटी में तो हमें बस मतलब पता होना चाहिए what do we mean by it. So cryonics, it's like here it is like related to the ambulance to the future. It has been termed as that is the meaning ये नहीं है. This is here मतलब it is related to cooling the legally dead patients. So cryonics is related to this thing, cooling legally dead patients and storing them in vacuum insulated metal box at sub-freezing temperatures using liquid nitrogen rather than electricity to protect against power outages and help maintenance costs down. So this is what cryonics is related and यहाँ पे हमारे लिए liquid nitrogen के और क्या applications हैं वो आप फाइंड आउट कर सकते हो. Coming to Financial Express, so Gadkari, he says कि India will be top auto market in the next 5 years. So betting big on the potential of the green technologies and unwavering political will to transform and multiply India's mobility and energy infrastructure, Union Minister of Road Transport and Highways Nitin Gadkari said the country could become the world's largest automobile market in the next 5 years, with a likely rapid proliferation of electric cars and vehicles run on flex fuel engines. So India piped Japan to become the third largest automobile market after China and USA in 2022 with sales of 4.25 million of vehicles. So right now we are the third largest automobile market in the world after China and USA. So it's an important fact. So European Union carbon tax, it's in news and इससे रिगार्डिंग डेफिनेटली कंसर्न्स हैं क्योंकि जो भी अब हमारे एक्सपोर्ट्स रहेंगे टू यूरोपियन यूनियन उनके ऊपर कार्बन टैक्स इम्पोज किया जाएगा तो दिस विल बी लाइक इम्पैक्टिंग द competitiveness of the goods which will be supplying which we would be exporting there. So level playing field की बात करें तो European Union says कि it has imposed this tax to bring parity between domestic producers and imports which tend to be cheaper in their market. So for that they're imposing this carbon tax. So it is for like bringing parity. This is what they're saying. But carbon tax है तो अगर आपका मेन पर्पस इट इज नॉट रिलेटेड टू like tackling the carbon emissions, yeah, related to mitigating the impact of the climate change, तो वो थोड़ी वहां पे डिस्क्रिपेंसी आ जाती है. बट यहाँ पे ऐसा कुछ मेंशन नहीं है कि दैट इज द मेन पर्पस. मेन टारगेट उनका यही है कि टू ब्रिंग पैरिटी जो डोमेस्टिक प्रोड्यूसर्स हैं, क्योंकि जो आप इंपोर्ट करते हो उस पर टैक्स नहीं होगा तो ऑब्वियसली उनकी कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस ज्यादा रहेगी क्योंकि उनका प्राइस कम रहेगा. So main target is to bring domestic parity. So to start with the tax, it will imposed on 7 products whose production is carbon intensive. So पहले 7 products पे it would be applicable. Gradually the tax proposed, it is said to be extended even to the finished products also. So tax impact of the carbon tax on India's exports to the European Union, it will be substantial at around 20% to 35%. So इतना ज्यादा वी कैन से कि कॉस्ट वुड बी गोइंग अप बाय 20% to 35% जो इंडिया एक्सपोर्ट करता है टू यूरोपियन यूनियन. So 556 million people are benefiting from the Jan Suraksha schemes. So government efforts reducing the financial vulnerability of the poor people. And it is encouraging to see that these schemes, they are being implemented through a targeted approach to maximize their reach. So इसमें schemes would be like प्रधानमंत्री जीवन ज्योति बीमा योजना, प्रधानमंत्री सुरक्षा बीमा योजना, अटल पेंशन योजना is there. So these all 3 of them, they were launched in 2015. So you can find out about their feature, and अटल पेंशन योजना पे already question आ चुका है in prelims. So यहाँ पे even like features they are also mentioned. प्रधानमंत्री जीवन ज्योति बीमा योजना की बात करें तो it is offering a life cover of rupees 2 lakh, and it has provided crucial support to 2.66 million families who have received the claims of 13,000 crore rupees. And then प्रधानमंत्री सुरक्षा बीमा योजना की बात करें तो वो एक्सीडेंटल डेथ कम डिसेबिलिटी कवर प्रोवाइड कर रहा है ऑफ रुपीज 2 लाख. एंड इसके अलावा दी स्कीम्स उनके like simplification of the claim process जो है that has resulted in speedier settlement of the claims also. So कल हमने like economic parameters की बात करी थी regarding the state of Karnataka. So it needs to improve on the social parameters. So Karnataka, it is set to elect its 16th legislative assembly today, and here we are just trying to understand about its social and economic indicators. So state, it has been a major recipient of FDI in recent years. It has grown above national average. It is credited with per capita income जो higher है than the national average. But जब हम बात करते हैं social indicators में उसकी performance की, so that is not commensurate with the general economic progress. So जैसे हम बोलते हैं कि अगर GDP increase हो रही है तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि welfare is also increasing. So that is exactly same what is happening with Karnataka. So social indicators यहाँ पे डेटा दिया गया है. लिटरेसी रेट को अगर हम देखें तो इंडिया का क्या है ऑल इंडिया लेवल, कर्नाटका का in terms of percentage. So literacy rate is 75.4%. Karnataka में it is 73 when we talk about at pan India level. Secondary school dropout rate, it is 14.7%, which is higher than the national average. And poverty rate is 13.16% in Karnataka. All India it is 25%. And life expectancy 69.4 years. It's exactly the same that of national average. Infant mortality rate बात करें तो कर्नाटका में it is lower. 19 deaths are recorded per 1,000 live births. India, all India level is 28. Per capita income Karnataka is around rupees 3 lakh. India, all India level is 1,72,000. सो रियल इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ, अगेन यहाँ पे इकोनॉमिक इंडिकेटर्स की बात की गई, तो ये हम कल मतलब देख चुके हैं, सो विल नॉट गो थ्रू दिस अगेन. सो राजस्थान में वी हैव डिस्कवर्ड द लिथियम रिजर्व्स, एंड इससे पहले भी डिस्कवर देम इन जम्मू एंड कश्मीर की जो रेसी डिस्ट्रिक्ट थी. सो यहाँ पे वी हैव साइजेबल रिजर्व्स ऑफ अ नेचुरल रिसोर्स विच इज लिथियम, which is critical for the growth in the current century. So signal कि इंडिया हैज एन इलेक्ट्रीफाइंग फ्यूचर, क्योंकि लिथियम बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रॉ मटेरियल मतलब रॉ मटेरियल है जो बैटरीज में यूज किया जाता है. तो इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स में इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रॉ मटेरियल. बट जो की एलिमेंट है इन दी सप्लाई चेन, इट इज रिफाइनिंग एंड रिजर्व्स. मतलब अगर हम मतलब डिस्कवर हुए हैं लिथियम रिजर्व्स, दैट इज इम्पोर्टेंट. बट सबसे ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट क्या चीज है? रिफाइनिंग. सो चाइना वहां पे काफी आगे है, इट इज हैविंग ह्यूज लीड. सो वी नीड टू स्टेप अप क्विकली टू इंस्टॉल दैट कैपेसिटी इन इंडिया, अगर हमें अपना डोमेस्टिक प्रोडक्शन इंक्रीज करना है. एंड ऑब्वियसली फॉरेन कंट्रीज पे रिलायंस कम करनी है, इम्पोर्ट्स कम करने हैं. सो वहां पे installing domestic capacity as far as refining is concerned, so that becomes important. So right now we are the fifth largest economy. Our next aim is to reach the top three. This is possible only when Karnataka rapidly grows to become a $1 trillion economy. So it's in the context of the Karnataka elections. So when we talk about the high frequency indicators, and here we are talking about the rural demand, it is falling. So there is a need for caution, as high frequency indicators, they are giving contrary signals. So there is a need for caution in inferring early signs of a pickup in the rural demand based on high frequency indicators like आप sale of domestic tractors की बात करें, two wheelers की बात करें, fast moving consumer goods की बात करें, fertilizer sales, rabi and kharif production, reservoir levels and trends in the rainfall, they are other indicators which are used by the Union Finance Ministry. So ये कुछ high frequency indicators है जिनको आप assess analyze करके you get to know about the real situation. So there are contrary signals from the high frequency indicators, partly due to the fact कि while जो agriculture है it is rural is not wholly agriculture. So healthy tractor sales and negative growth in two-wheeler sales, which was highlighted in an article also, it paradoxically it is indicating कि while farm sentiments hai, they may be upbeat, demand in the non-farm segment of the rural economy, it is not so bullish. So ये हम यहाँ से समझ सकते हैं कि अगर tractor sales increase हो रही है तो farm sentiments they are positive, बट नेगेटिव ग्रोथ हो रही है एट द सेम टाइम इन टू व्हीलर सेल्स. तो जो नॉन फार्म सेक्टर में डिमांड की बात करें तो दैट इज नॉट सो बुलिश एंड नॉट सो स्ट्रॉन्ग, ये हम बोल सकते हैं. And then again, sentiment, it may be buoyed by a better than expected Rabi harvesting season, higher reservoir levels, and prospects for a normal monsoon, according to IMD. Apart from this, again, यहाँ पे मतलब high frequency indicators की बात की जा रही है. So looking ahead आने वाले time में outlook on rural demand this fiscal, it is further clouded by the potential risk like El Nino like conditions which are developing and creating drought conditions, lowering agricultural output and elevating the prices, according to Finance Ministry's monthly economic report. So these are some of the future challenges that we need to deal with, that we need to be prepared with also. So if such a scenario comes to pass, there is like bound to be considerable distress in the countryside. Obviously uski wajah se demand and income pe bahut zyada impact milega, which will impact all these high frequency indicators also, specifically rural inflation. which continues to outpace the urban areas as in 2022. So rural inflation and urban inflation को अगर हम compare करें तो rural inflation higher रही compared to the urban inflation during 2022 also. So जब हम demographic dividend की बात करते हैं तो in order to realize and actualize the benefit from the demographic dividend, so वहाँ पे हम बात करते हैं कि skills बहुत important हो जाते हैं. Skilling the human resource is very important. So जब हम बात करते हैं skilling की तो क्या challenges हैं, that is important for us to know. So current problem, it is in the higher education, it is a severe shortage of the qualified faculty, organizational capital, we are lacking in this, and regulatory capacity. So these are clearly mentioned three challenges. We are short of qualified faculty, we are short of organizational capital and regulatory capacity. So all three of these, they have to be imported at scale in order to jumpstart skilling at scale also. So higher level पे, higher scale पे, मतलब ज़्यादा लोगों को skilled बनाना, उसके लिए ये तीन फैक्टर्स बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है जिसमें वी नीड टू वर्क अ लॉट. सो यही इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है इस आर्टिकल से व्हिच वी कैन टेक अवे. Now coming to Indian Express, so here Pakistan on boil after ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan is arrested from Islamabad High Court. So this we've seen, and so on the editorial page, where again it is talking about new Arabian tales. So seizing the opportunities in the Gulf would require long overdue modernization of Delhi's strategic discourse. So the new India US warmth that we're seeing on the Gulf, it's a major departure from the traditional approaches jo hamari rahi in the Middle East in both India and US. So India, one of the entrenched principles of the Nehruvian foreign policy was the proposition that Delhi must either oppose Washington or keep its distance from it in the Middle East. So this was one of the elements which was a part of the Nehruvian foreign policy कि या तो आप यूएसए से कंप्लीट डिस्टेंस बना के चले या फिर मिडल ईस्ट में जहां तक की बात आती है तो आप वहां पे अपना डिस्टेंस मेंटेन करके रखे फ्रॉम यूएसए. सो सेल्फ इम्पोज्ड आइडियोलॉजिकल टैबू वाज ब्रोकन विद द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ अ फोर नेशन ग्रुपिंग which was unveiled in October 2021. So here we're talking about I2U2 that brought US, India, Israel, and UAE together as far as Middle East is concerned. So this was broken, and here we see ki what are the developments regarding the Arabian Peninsulas. There are new possibilities which can be exploited. And again, we are seeing that China is also growing it is trying to grow its presence and, make its presence felt even in this particular region. So रोज हम कोई ना कोई एक आर्टिकल जरूर डिस्कस कर रहे हैं regarding this region, West Asia, Central Asia. So it's very, very important from the examination perspective also. So here यहाँ पे like CENTO is mentioned. So it is the Central Treaty Organization. So you can like find out more about it. So regional members of it includes Pakistan, Iran, and Turkey. They formed a forum on the Regional Cooperation for Development 1964 में. Then CENTO, it was dissolved in 1979, and RCD, which is Regional Cooperation for Development, morphed into the Economic Cooperation Organization 1985 में. इसको Economic Cooperation Organization बनाया गया. So if Pakistan, it was central to these